Well, we start the hour in South Africa, where Paralympian Oscar Pistorius has made another high-profile court appearance. He's been granted bail pending his sentencing for murder. The athlete, known as the Blade Runner, could spend 15 years in prison, but lawyers for Pistorius say he will challenge his conviction in the country's highest court. CCTV's Ulisan Jamela has more.
Oscar Pistorius had no entourage this time. Inside the Pretoria court, he cut a lonely figure as he waited for the ruling on his bail application. It soon emerged that prosecutors had agreed not to oppose bail, provided his bail conditions were tightened.
The accused has offered to proceed with the house arrest, but on stricter conditions.
We have a convicted murderer applying for bail. So the conditions should be stricter.
Pistorius was granted a bail of around $700 with stringent conditions.
Since the applicant attended court, he has proved that he is not a flight risk.
Pistorius must hand over his passport. He's under a curfew for most of the day, can travel no more than 20 kilometers from his home, and he's electronically tagged. The National Prosecuting Authority says it has been vindicated.
We've always maintained that this case is not personal. We will always ensure that as the custodians of the criminal law and criminal justice, that any decision of court that is not in line with the interest of justice and the rule of law, we will always challenge that.
Pistorius was convicted of murder last week. He shot his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, in February 2013. The original trial had convicted Pistorius of a lesser crime, and he was freed in October after just 10 months in prison. But the Supreme Court of Appeal last week ruled the original judge got it wrong. Pistorius' final hope is the Constitutional Court. He's seeking leave to apply to the court to overturn his conviction. Some legal experts doubt he will succeed.
It's a very difficult path to follow, one. And two, remember that the higher you approach the tribunals and appeal courts in this country, the more difficult it becomes. Remember, the Supreme Court of Appeal had a unanimous verdict, 5 judges that overruled the verdict of Judge Masipa. That in itself is also indicative of the fact that they were very sure of the case law and the law as such.
Pistorius is due back in court for sentencing next April. If Pistorius' appeal at the Constitutional Court is unsuccessful, he will have to return to this court for sentencing, which could see him serve a minimum of 15 years behind bars. Ulisan Jamela for CCTV in Pretoria, South Africa.
Right, let's get to more details on this story now. Let's go to Johannesburg, where CCTV's Angela Coppola is standing by for us. Angela, of course, the Pistorius saga has been followed quite closely by the public in South Africa and certainly beyond. Tell us, what is the reaction so far to the court's decision to grant him bail?
Well, Lindy, the big hashtag of the day was $688, which is the bail that he was granted on Twitter. Many couldn't believe that it had been set at such a low level. People were also wondering how he could plead poverty to get this low bail, while in the meantime pursuing a Constitutional Court challenge, because he's going to be paying for silks, advocates and legal support. And as you know, these legal people don't come cheap. Others are wondering how anyone convicted of murder could get bail in the first place. On a darker note, some people on Twitter were wondering where the electronic tag would be attached. Linda? Oh, Lindy?
Right. Well, of course, as you mentioned there, the Constitutional Court appeal is what's next for Oscar Pistorius and his lawyers. Many think that his chances are not looking very good. But do we know exactly what kind of timeline we might be looking at? When is this appeal expected to happen, and how might it affect his legal status and circumstances?
Well, Pistorius' team have yet to lodge the appeal. It's going to go to the country's highest court, which is the Constitutional Court. It's likely that that court will announce its decision whether they're going to hear or not hear this case in either February or March of next year. If the case is accepted, it will only be heard in the second half of 2016. So the Supreme Court of Appeal, as Yolisa was saying, that case, to determine his actual jail term, is being set for the 18th of April. But if the Constitutional Court does want to hear his case, then it's going to have to wait until after the Constitutional Court makes its ruling. So it's a bit of a time delay there. So in the meantime, though, he's out on that low bail. He's got that electronic tag. He's limited to 20 kilometers from his uncle's mansion. He's handed in his passports. And if he wants to leave the mansion, he's going to get and have to get police permission. Lindy?
All right. Thank you very much for that update. Angela Coppola live for us in Johannesburg there on the bail conditions that have been put forward for Oscar Pistorius.